beating in customer service. I'm afraid that headlines and viral videos have been offering daily reminders that that travel in general is kind of in a customer service crisis. So what does that mean for you, the innkeeper? Well, in my opinion, what that means is now is your time to shine, because as you know, amazing service is what sets B&Bs and inns apart from all other travel segments, and we're going to talk about that today. Where else does the owner greet you by name, offer a hug when you leave, brush off snow from your car, give you complimentary rides to the airport, to the drugstore, to so many other places that you might need to go, make a special frog ladder, deliver ice cream and warm cookies to your room every night? Yes, there is an innkeeper who does that. I think many of you may know him. That's Terry at Herman Hill. Innkeepers are customer service champions, but they don't always realize it. Here are 12 customer service acts that you probably take for granted, but that guests notice. And I'm sure if we think about it, there are way more than 12 of these items that you do that provide customer service that you would not find at other kinds of lodging properties. Personally addressed welcome letters, substitutions at breakfast for any kind of special diet, vegan, gluten-free, low-fat, high-fat, ideas for activities, advice and insider secrets, which we're going to talk about, beverages or snacks available 24/7, fresh flowers in the rooms, jump-starting dead batteries on cars. I bet you almost everybody here who's listening today has done that. Providing electric charging stations for electric cars, and also providing the electricity to your guests free of charge for that. Most of you do that. Carrying luggage, parking cars, providing a breakfast to go, and printing boarding passes. These are all things that we find offered at B&Bs that you would not necessarily find at any other kind of lodging property. I thought that this BedandBreakfast.com infographic was really an amazing opportunity to illustrate how B&B perks add value to a stay, up to $75 per day, and that means probably $150 for your average 2-day stay. I think it's noteworthy to look at this and realize that 84% of U.S. travelers say a free breakfast is one of the most important amenities to them. That's 8 out of 10 travelers find that one of the most important amenities is something that is offered at B&Bs. 43% of travelers around the world would like to see more complimentary bottled water in their rooms, and yet every B&B, probably just about every B&B, offers that. If not water bottles, certainly some kind of fresh water in the rooms. 70% of travelers say that availability of free parking influences their booking decisions. That's 7 out of 10. That's a pretty amazing figure, because you figure that almost everybody listening today is offering that. Another thing that B&Bs offer that you really don't find at any other kind of lodging property is that inside knowledge of local experiences, secret treasured photo opportunities, and best adventures. I was talking to Cheryl McKelson at the Berry Manor Inn just last week, and she told me that just this week I got 2 reservations from guests who mentioned they came specifically for my inside knowledge and local expertise. Do not underestimate the value of your local expertise. It's one of the customer service perks that you offer as innkeepers. I asked innkeepers to share a few customer service stories, and I wanted to read you some of them. You can just read along with me. From Brian Shields at the Manor on Golden Pond in Holderness, New Hampshire. He told me that a guest arrived on their honeymoon during an intense snowstorm, and the husband's ring had not been sized and fell off his finger in the snow in the parking lot upon his arrival late on his wedding night. So what did they do? They purchased a metal detector the next morning, and after a 60-minute search, they found the ring. How is that for customer service? From Judy at the Chesterfield Inn. She tells me if someone is at the inn all day and doesn't feel well or doesn't have a car, they'll make a simple lunch and bring it to their room. And they'll bring breakfast to the room for those who request it. She says, we buy special yogurt for a guest who won't eat anything else. We walk an elderly guest back to her room after dinner because she doesn't see well after dark. We serve breakfast 45 minutes early for a regular guest who likes an early start to the day. These are all just amazing customer service things that innkeepers like yourselves do every day. I thought this story from Leslie Mulcahy at the Rabbit Hill Inn was another amazing example of customer service. Leslie told me late in the evening she fell, that would be Elaine, fell and broke her arm and hit her head. George suffered from Alzheimer's and could not be left alone. So Brian, Leslie's husband, took Elaine to the hospital and stayed with her through the night. Leslie sat with George through the night, chatting about whatever he wished. He really had no idea that Elaine was injured. Later, Leslie got him ready for bed. They called their son, who arranged to come to the inn the next morning. In the morning, Brian and Leslie got George into breakfast, gave him his morning medications, and made sure that he ate proper foods because he's a diabetic. They then helped the son tend to his parents. He went to the hospital while Leslie cared for George and packed their luggage. Eventually, the son took his dad home while Elaine stayed in the hospital. Now, where else in the travel industry would you find customer service like that? You just simply don't find these kinds of stories anywhere but at inns and B&Bs. Guests really do appreciate the added value. Jill Mayer at the Captain's House Inn told me that guests often comment that the extra amenities that they offer are beyond expectations, from the complimentary breakfast and high tea and high-end bath products, including toothpaste, to complimentary coffee and tea service, and even breakfast in bed. Guests feel they are not nickel and dime, and they see a lot of value in staying at the Captain's House Inn. This is true for all inns and B&Bs. This is true for all of you. So don't be afraid to toot your horn. This is one thing that you should take away from this webinar today. Don't be afraid to talk about your great customer service. If you don't, somebody else will. Exceptional customer service tales are plentiful in the B&B industry. So it's time to tell that story. It's time for you to make sure that everybody hears your story. Here's what Hotel Propeller, a blog for hoteliers, tells hoteliers about B&Bs. I loved reading this because it shows that hotels consider B&Bs their mentors, the example for the industry. They say B&Bs are known for going above and beyond standard hotel accommodations. The owners take personal pride in their business. They feel responsibility to their guests to make their guests comfortable. If somebody has a question or a special need, the owner is usually directly available. Going on, they say travelers also expect B&Bs to have little extra perks, and these might be as simple as free Wi-Fi or in-house entertainment library. Details like a collection of board games or bookshelves also add to the experience. Most hotel chains will charge add-ons anywhere they can, so it is refreshing when B&Bs are more lenient with the extras, they say. If there's coffee or tea left out on the dresser, it's usually complimentary at B&Bs. These things make guests feel more welcome and appreciated in an unfamiliar place. Interesting that the hotel industry is telling hoteliers to act more like a B&B. So travelers want to hear about your good customer service. Use your stories as a selling tool. That's another takeaway that you should take from this webinar. Tell your story on your blog, through your social media, through thank yous for reviews, and tell the media too. We're going to talk about that now. Blogs are a great place to tell your customer service story. There's enough room, you have enough room on a blog to really be able to get into detail and to tell to demonstrate your customer service through your blog stories. Here's a few examples that I've written in the past for B&Bs and inns. Here are a couple ideas that you can use for your customer service blog postings that you want to do. Gather your customer service stories and create a series about what it's like to be an innkeeper. Tell the heartfelt side, the insider side, and offer some insight into the kind of the poignant part of innkeeping. It'll also make you appear more human, and people will really want to get to know you. You can read through your guest manuals and pull quotes from your guests about exceptional customer care. You can create a blog post from their comments. Remember, don't be afraid to toot your horn. It may feel like you're bragging, and I hear from innkeepers all the time that they can't really talk about themselves, but believe me, guests want to hear this. Let your reviews tell your customer service story, and share some of those reviews to illustrate all the customer service, exceptional customer service that you offer. And this one is for association leaders who might be listening in today. It's a great idea to gather some stories from your own members and share them on your blog. If you ask your members for stories, you will be amazed at the number of stories that you receive if you're an association leader. Then you share your blog on social media, which you should be doing anyway, but make sure you're sharing those customer service blogs too. Write out, tweet them out, send them out through, post them on Pinterest. Make sure that your blogs are getting seen on your social media channels too. You can use Twitter to share your customer service message and your advice blogs too. I thought it was very interesting to learn that 30% of top brands now have customer service handles on Twitter. Very interesting. Nike, UPS, FedEx, Weight Watchers. They all have not only their own Facebook pages, of course, but they also, and Twitter pages, but they have customer service handles. As you might imagine, all of the airlines now have them too. On Facebook, the new notes function will allow you to post examples of your customer care, your customer service stories in a little bit more detail. So make sure you're taking advantage of that notes section and talk about a great customer service story that you might have had that week or that day. Now, we could spend an entire webinar talking about reviews, and we may do that in the future, but you want to encourage reviews because they're a great way for your guests to be able to talk about the customer care and the customer service that they received at your inn. A thank you goes a long way on TripAdvisor. Remember that when guests post a message on or a review on TripAdvisor or on BedandBreakfast.com or on Yelp or any of those places, it's great if you have the opportunity to thank that person. It's just another form of customer service to thank somebody for their good review. And one thing you got to be sure of, though, make sure that it's a sincere thank you, because when I look on TripAdvisor, sometimes I see innkeepers using the exact same wording for every thank you that they give. So make sure that you use a different thank you and a heartfelt thank you when you thank somebody for their review. And if you get a bad review, you need to take a deep breath, because I know, having talked to so many innkeepers, that can just ruin a day. But your response to that bad review can be as much of a selling tool as a good review, because how you answer that will give people, your potential guests, insight into the kind of customer care you offer. I found a couple really good examples that you'll see here of somebody who, innkeepers who said, call me when you come back so I can ensure you a flawless stay. I thought that was a great response. Tell your customer service story to the media and let the media tell that story. A lot of times you see things on CBS News or NBC News at the end of the news show talking about heroes and unsung heroes. Well, you're an unsung hero when you offer unusual customer service. Don't be afraid to talk to the media about that. So How do you do that? Here are 5 great customer service stories for the media. When you donate prizes to help a community organization raise money, tell them. Tell the media about it so they can tell that story too. Do you have a bottomless cookie jar? Make a batch of those cookies and deliver them to the food editor with a recipe and a photo of your cookies in the cookie jar and an invitation to the editor to join the guests at the end for a bottomless cookie supply. That alone would be enough for that food editor to be able to feature your recipe in the food section in the upcoming months. In poor weather after a snowstorm or a weather disaster, share photos of you helping neighbors, shoveling guest cars out, or perhaps that one flower that remains after a snowstorm in May. And then send your weather-related photos to meteorologists with your story. You will be amazed because meteorologists are often forgotten. You think of sending ideas for your story to the food editor or the news editor, but often it's the meteorologists who are using those photos for their weather blogs, for their social media, and they love rainbow photos, snow photos. Here's one from the Inn at Harbor Hill Marina after a snowstorm with their sign buried in the snow. Will you participate in B&B Servettes this year? I hope so. Let the media know. Invite the local media to your B&B for a breakfast with the vets. Your unsung hero will be on the news that evening. Follow-up customer service disasters gone viral with your own story about great customer service. One thing that these viral videos that you're seeing from different travel-related incidents, one thing that does is give you an opportunity to talk about your own great customer service and tell the media that vacations are still healthy, safe, and enjoyable. Invite the media to come experience the customer service at your B&B for themselves. Here's a couple pictures of different innkeepers who have hosted media and let them experience that kind of customer service for themselves. So it's short and sweet, but here are some key points to remember when it comes to customer service. Now is the time to toot your customer service horn while travelers are focused on service. That's an important point. Take the opportunity as soon as, if you see a story about poor customer service, take that opportunity to talk about your own. Tell your customer service story on your blogs and social media campaigns and to the media. Encourage your guests to write about their customer service experiences and then be sure to thank them and thank them sincerely for taking the time to write about your customer service. And finally, don't be afraid to toot your own horn. Your customer service is exceptional. And it sets the B&B industry apart from all the other kinds of lodging because of the kind of care, the customer care that you give to your guests. So that's it. Any questions that anyone might have?
Thanks, Marty. That was wonderful. We'll wait a couple minutes. I know I mentioned if you have any questions, feel free to type them into the questions box in the webinar panel, and we will get to them as soon as they're available.
If anyone has questions out there that are not related to customer service, you can also type those in too.
Yes. Melinda Mathias Porter actually just typed in a question. Thanks, Melinda. So she's with the Aberdeen Stone Cottage, and she said that they're going to have an open house for the neighborhood to stop in. Do you think that's a good idea?
Oh, I think that's a fabulous idea. As a matter of fact, it's something that you might consider doing every year because those neighborhood referrals are a great source of business for you. A lot of inns and B&Bs end up hosting family members in the neighborhood, especially during holidays, during weddings, during family reunions, things like that. So your neighborhood and your town is a great way to premiere your inn and keep you top of mind. And that's a reason why you kind of want to do it every year if you can. A lot of chambers of commerce have what they call after hours or different kinds of gatherings, monthly networking gatherings. Sign up for those. That's another way to kind of hold a form of an open house. But kudos to you for thinking of showing off your property to the neighborhood. I love it.
Yep, agreed. I love that idea. Just a great way to get people in the property to see it and then tell all of their friends and family. Let's see. Another question came in from Victoria Brown, and she's asking, how do you deal with a customer that has damaged the sheets or pillowcases?
Oh, that's such a tough one. That's so amazing because I was just having a conversation with an innkeeper about this week. It's a difficult situation. It depends a lot on how it's been prefaced. So if there was some kind of policy that you have that was in a confirmation letter, or that you might have gone over in your introduction, or you know, and something like that, that helps to back you up. In a lot of cases, it's sometimes difficult to know whether or not the guest actually damaged those pillowcases, although you know darn well. But when they say, "Oh no, it wasn't my fault," then you know you're almost better off not arguing with them. Yet at the same time, if somebody has spilled red wine on a brand new set of Comfy Co. or sheets, then you're out, you know, over $100. And I think in that case, you really try to talk to the customer, ask them in as even a tone and a non-accusatory tone as possible what happened. I think maybe the best bet would be to say, wow, the sheets and pillowcases are damaged. What happened? Not did you do it, but what happened. And I know there are a number of different kinds of products like Wine Away, which I've found through a fellow innkeeper, that you can use to get rid of stains on the sheets. But if they're actually damaged and you have a policy that has been shared with that guest ahead of time, then you know you tell them ahead of time that you're going to need to charge them for those sheets, and even offer to let them take them home if they're going to pay for them.
Perfect. Yes, agreed with all of that. So Randall Jones is asking if this presentation will be available online later, and the answer is yes. We are recording it, so we will put it on the website and then share out with all of you guys. We have another question from Vicki Highfield, and she's asking, do you have any suggestions on how you can set yourself apart from a tourism town that's only 7 square miles and there are 69 B&Bs in that town?
Wow, that's another whole webinar there too, I think. You know, I've worked with a lot of inns and B&Bs that are in tourism towns, and I think I understand your question, Vicki, that says that you're in a tourism town with a lot of competition, and how do I set myself apart? And I found the most successful innkeepers to do that are those that create really interesting and unusual packages. I've worked with an innkeeper in Mount Washington Valley, New Hampshire, for example, where there are over 50 inns and B&Bs, and he created a series of murder mysteries, which really ended up taking off and were very, very successful, and were not being done by a lot of other places in town. Also created a very successful cooking school, which was another experience that wasn't available in that town. And another package that I've seen created was the kind of guided beer brew bus. And that would be a kind of a guided tour of all the breweries and or restaurants. It could be a foodie tour, it could be a wine tour, it could be a beer tour. But these kinds of guided experiences where people don't have to drive are another package or experience that really sets inns apart. What you have to do is think about your clientele and what kinds of things are they interested in, and then create an experience that no one else is doing. Maybe it's a mancation because you don't see a lot of packages that are geared toward men. Maybe it's a get out of the doghouse after Valentine's Day package. You know, it's one of the most successful packages that I've ever seen came from the Avenue Inn in New Orleans, which was a Valentine's Day package for singles. And it was for singles who had just broken up. And it included a voodoo doll with pins and a magic marker where you could write the person's name on the top of the voodoo doll, and 2 pints of Ben & Jerry's ice cream. Very fun, tongue-in-cheek, interesting, fun package. Did anyone ever book it? No, but you cannot imagine how much media pickup it got and how much attention that kind of a experience brought to the Avenue Inn in a very busy town of New Orleans, a B&B packed town of New Orleans. So I guess my advice is to look for those unique experiences that you can really and those unique selling points that you offer that no one else offers that set you apart.
Yep, love that. Another question from Pickett Craddock. Any thoughts on how to publicize a green B&B?
Yes. There are a number of green travel websites and magazines that really love to hear those kinds of stories. So if you do a search for, either eco travel, green travel, use a couple different sustainable travel, use a couple different search terms, and look for some of those innkeepers, or those, websites that feature, websites and magazines that feature those kind of experiences. I think that being a green B&B can be a very unique selling point, and so I say wrap your arms around that. Create a green B&B Facebook page or a special Twitter account. Create a number of Pinterest boards, for example, that show some of the things that you do to stay green, or that offer advice on how to clean green, or how to be a sustainable traveler. I say write blogs about it and really make that one of your talking points, because that can become a nice, unique selling point, and there's a lot to be able to talk about there.
Yep. We have time for, I think we're at time, but there's a couple more questions that have come in, so I think we can just go ahead and take these, and then we'll cut it off, though. I think there's about 3 more questions left. And I can always email the question to Marty afterwards, and she can follow up with you one-on-one if that will work. But one of the next questions, Marty, is from, hold on one second, here it is, from Josh Mingle. Actually, it says, "Hi, my name is Jenna, and I am the new marketing manager for the historic Fairfield Inn, 1757. We are unique in the sense that the innkeeper lives off-site and is not always available. Our chef and general manager are here on certain days of the week, since they also have a restaurant, but what could we do to give some more personal experience since there isn't always someone here? She's there now, but she's only been there for 3 weeks or so, and in the future would be happy to take on more of these kind of personalized tasks." So what are your thoughts there, Marty?
Well, Sometimes you can do some of that in writing. You know, if you do not have somebody there on site all the time, create extensive materials for the rooms. Hopefully, you'll have a menu book, for example, that has menus from all the different inns, but beyond, or from all the different restaurants in the area. But beyond that, give a top 10 list. You know, take it a step further. Give your recommendations that you might give in person in writing in those books. Create some itineraries, for example, that you might be able to put in rooms or to put in your common areas or even in the dining room, because that's when people are planning their days, in the morning at breakfast. So perhaps you could put some table tents on the breakfast tables with, you know, 5 great ideas for today. If somebody's not there to talk about them, you can create different booklets or brochures. Make sure that your brochure racks are full of suggestions on things to do and places to go. And you can even do that via social media. You can, you know, you could tell your guests to tune into social media for the tip of the day. And then not only would your guests see that, but people, it could serve as a selling tool to sell your destination and your B&B, because people will see all the great things there are to do.
Great suggestions. I think the idea of putting a little book together is an awesome way to handle a lot of those. So I love that. Let's see. Here's one more question from Alicia Stone. She's asking, is it better to offer packages to guests, or is it better to offer certain things complimentary, such as home-baked cookies or things like that?
That's a difficult question because I'm not sure I understand it. Packages usually include a lot of things that, you know, and I think what you're asking is that, do we put together a package and charge for all those extras, or do we just offer them? I think there's a few things that guests who come to B&Bs expect. And as you saw earlier in this presentation, they don't want to feel nickeled and dimed. So the complimentary cookies in the afternoon, keep them complimentary. Obviously your breakfast, DVDs, and don't charge for small things like that. But if you want to put together a package that's an experience as opposed to an amenity, that's then I would recommend doing that, especially if it's going to, again, set you apart. But complimentary coffee and beverages and waters, definitely continue to offer those as complimentary. Your afternoon refreshments, probably about, I think the BedandBreakfast.com surveys show that about 90% of inns and B&Bs offer complimentary refreshments in the afternoon. So don't be one of the 10% who's not. I would say, you know, the more that you feel you can add to a stay, the happier your guest is going to be. And they're going to arrive pretty much expecting that, I think.
Awesome. Thank you, Marty. So I think that's all the questions we have time for today. I've seen a couple more have come through, so we will follow up with you offline. But very much appreciate everyone for attending the webinar today and being so attentive. And then obviously thank you to Marty for this great presentation and so much information that I think will really help everybody out with kind of taking their customer service not only to the next level, because most of you already do that, but kind of how you share that story with other travelers. So just a heads up, we're going to be doing these with Marty on a monthly basis. So if you enjoyed today, please stay tuned for our webinar next month. I think we're going to kind of shoot for around the end of the month. Also, if you have any thoughts on different webinar topics that you would like to hear, we're very open to those as well. So if you have anything like that, you can contact Marty at info@mainlymarketing.com. Her email address is there, or you can also contact myself. It's Candace Edwards, but it's C. Peterson. That's C as in cat, and Peterson, P-E-D as in dog, E-R-S-O-N @homeaway.com. And yeah, so if you have any suggestions, we would be happy to take those into consideration for future webinars. But again, thanks again, Marty and everyone else for attending.
It was a pleasure.
Awesome. Well, everyone, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, and we will talk soon. Thank you.